Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to teach you guys the top 3, I guess, or I don't know. I'm just going to teach you guys how I would drift with no wheel assist. So here I am in my Mustang. The tune will be dropped, I believe, right after I record this video. So basically, as you can see here, I'm using my Logitech G29 with my handbrake, clutch, shifter, everything works on it, and basically I'm using no wheel assist in CarX Racing Online. Today I'm going to show you guys how you can drift using no assist. As you can see, I'm not the best, so I may not be the best tutorial that you're looking for, but I know a lot of good tips. I guess it's really just comes down to skill once you know everything I know. And I'm not the best, clearly, but it's just for the fun of it, I guess. There's nothing specific that you need to use these skills in. I just think it's really a lot more fun to use no wheel assist when you're playing. That way you can do crazy stuff like 360s, which is not as easy to do with wheel assist on. Anyways, let's get on to the tips. So, for tip number 1, I would show you guys this. So basically, as you can see, I'm driving here. By the way, keep an eye down on the clutch, and the brake, and the pedal, and the handbrake. That'll all show up down in the bottom right, down here. But basically, the first tip I'm going to show you is to let the wheel slip through your hands. As you can see, the wheel will already sort of counter steer for you, but mainly you just have to make sure that you are still in control of the wheel. But it is good to let it slip through your hands. Like for instance, watch. Once I get up this ramp, I'm going to try and turn to the right. Basically, I'm going to use my handbrake, use my foot brake, let it slip through my hands to go sideways. But then you also have to kind of grip it to make sure that you keep it going the direction you want to go. Because if I just let it go, it's going to go back left and right, and left and right. But basically, if you hold it just like this, it's going to keep going at that same angle you want to go at. Sometimes, if you're going like this, you have to give it a little bit more just to keep it going sideways. And yeah, that's tip number 1. Make sure that you're controlling the wheel well, and then you also let it slip through your hands and let it kind of gradually do what it's going to do. Alright, on to tip number 2. Alright guys, so the second tip that I want to show you is basically throttle management. I can't really show you guys my pedals right now, but make sure that you're paying very specific attention to the clutch, this white line down here in the bottom right. Make sure you're looking down in the bottom right here, also keeping attention to my wheel placement, but that's not as important as the throttle management right now. So here you see the clutch, that's the white line. This, the bright red line, that's my brake, and this is the gas, the throttle. This is also the handbrake, but right now we're just paying attention to the pedal management. Okay, so basically, let me find a corner that I can go into. But basically, right now I'm just full throttle. Honestly, if you want to keep it more precise on where you're drifting, you don't always want to do full throttle. Okay, so basically when I approach a corner, I go like this. I'm holding the clutch and the gas, then I let off of the clutch, I let off of the gas just a little bit. That is going to be called a clutch kick. Most of you that are drifters probably already know what a clutch kick is. But if you don't, I'll show you guys again. So right now I'm holding the clutch, holding the gas, I let off of the clutch, and the car will begin going sideways. This is an alternate option to begin your drift rather than using the handbrake. If you were to use the handbrake, it would look a little bit more like this, like that. But I feel like using the clutch is a little bit more handy as you can use it with your feet rather than having to reach up and grab the handbrake every couple of seconds. So basically, watch, I'll show you guys how it would be if I'm entering a corner. So, got a little bit of a lag spike. I just finished a stream actually, so there's still some people on the server here. But so basically, I'm coming this way, right? I'm doing the clutch kick. I have to do a lot of left foot braking, especially there because I literally just went to a pole. But watch. So I go like this, do a little clutch kick to begin my drift. Then, if you're paying attention to the last little tip that I showed you guys, it's the control of the wheel. So basically, so watch. I go like this. I'm using a lot of left foot braking if I'm going a little too fast in the corner. And once again, you want to let the wheel sort of slide through your hands to go the direction that you want. Then you also have to grip it to make sure that it doesn't just go insane, you know? Alright, on to tip number 3, which will probably involve the handbrake. Alright, so tip number 3. We've learned the throttle control. We've learned how to hold onto the wheel. Now it comes down to the handbrake. Most of you guys don't have this, but if you'd rather use the handbrake than the clutch, you can make your clutch pedal into the handbrake. Alright, so basically, I'm coming here. I'm not going to use clutch kick. I'm only going to use the throttle pedal, the brake pedal, the wheel, and the handbrake. This is a lot easier to use, I'd say, or I guess the handbrake's easier to use than the clutch because you have to do 2 pedals for a clutch kick, but I feel like the clutch is a little bit more accessible as most of you guys don't have a handbrake. Anyways, yeah, so if I were to just use the handbrake rather than using the clutch, this is how it would seem. So coming this way, I'm doing long handbrake entries, which I like the most, but normally the professional drifters would just give it a little bit of a tap to initiate the drift. I personally like going like this, because that's the best way. Like if you were to do a reverse entry, which by the way is where you're going basically completely backwards into a drift. You hold it like this, go like that, and then you do the gas. Make sure you're looking at the throttle management as well, because I'm putting all 3 tips that I've shown you before into this, other than the clutch. Anyways, I'll show you guys tip number 4, which is pretty much my last tip that I have to show you. The last tip that I have to show you is tip number 5, where I'm going to show you guys how to implement it all into one drift and explain a little bit more about simple drifting terms and stuff. So on to tip number 5. Here I'm going to show you guys how to basically mash all 4 of the previous tips into one to make it very clean while drifting. So as you can see there, I just did both handbrake and clutch kick. So normally I would just use the clutch kick. Basically, if I'm doing very wide corners, I'm going to use the handbrake normally. But let's say I'm going a little bit slower, right? And I'm approaching a corner. I'm not drifting at all. I'm going to do the clutch, and that's normally what I do to initiate a drift. Normally the only time that I'll use a handbrake is if I'm basically going into a wall, like this, watch. If I'm going like that, I'll use the handbrake and the foot brake to basically change the direction of the drift, basically. And then that's basically all the tips combined. The last tip that I'll show you is kind of an extra one. The last tip I'll show you is going to be the shifter. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the last tip. Okay guys, so tip number 3. This is going to be, tip number 6, which is kind of an extra one because I know a lot of you guys do use automatic shifting while playing CarX Drift Racing Online. But if you want it to feel a little bit more realistic, I would use a manual shifter, and it's really good to start out early. Otherwise, you'll get too used to driving automatic, and you won't really gain progress on learning. Anyways, so basically, I'm coming this way, right? So if I'm going in first gear, I can just shift into, so watch, I'm using the clutch kick to initiate my drift, right? But, here, okay, so watch. It's kind of hard to implement all of these drift or tips together, especially when you're using manual. But basically, if you're going in a drift, right? Let me show you what I mean. So if I'm going like this, and I begin to oversteer, like that, I can shift into first. It didn't work that time, of course. But if you're going, and you start to oversteer, like that, you can go into a lower gear to keep it from spinning out. That's basically one of the main tips that comes to the shifter. But let's say you're going here, right? And you don't have a handbrake, and your clutch isn't working. Another thing you can do is quickly shift into reverse and use that basically as a handbrake. It also helps for when you're trying to brake. So I just shift into that gear like that. I'm not using any of my clutch or handbrake or whatever. But yeah, so watch. I'm coming like this. Do that to initiate a drift. Anyways, those are the last tips for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you guys out when learning how to drift with no wheel assist. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video where I'll release the tune to this Mustang. Bye!